Let me tell you how I ended up shutting off water to an entire neighborhood, and how a bunch of folks with too much money and not enough sense found out the hard way who really own the ground under their feet. First, picture this. It's a Texas summer, the kind that feels like God left the oven on and forgot. Not a cloud in the sky, cicadas screaming like the world's on fire, cattle standing still as statues in whatever shade they could find. I'd come back to my father's ranch, figured I'd stay a few months, lick my wounds, maybe find a little peace after years away. Instead, I found a subdivision where my dad's hayfields used to be. Brand new houses, white picket fences, sprinklers spraying all day long on water they didn't own. Yeah, that happened. What nobody told them, what they never bothered to check, is that the very creek keeping their lawns green still belonged to our land. Right down to the last drop. The city never finished the deal, the permits were half-baked. But those folks just built their comfort on someone else's property and figured nobody would notice. Or if they did, well, money and paperwork could buy their way out. You know the type. Let me back up a sec. 2 weeks before all this, I'd pulled into the old driveway with the dust barely settling behind me. Still wearing city clothes and thinking I'd just clean up the place, maybe rent it out, get back to Austin before I went crazy. But the second I stepped onto that porch and smelled cedar and dust, my dad's old hat still hanging by the door, the kitchen window looking out over the pastures where I learned to drive a tractor, well, that was it. There's a gravity to home you don't really shake. So I was sitting there, drinking coffee with my mom, when the mail came. One envelope, white, thick, fancy gold lettering. Clear Mesa Estates Homeowners Association. Inside, some lady named Bethany Whitfield, president of the HOA, welcoming us to the community and inviting me to a meet and greet at the Lakeside Pavilion. My mom just snorted. Your father used to get those, too. Said the only thing worse than a drought is a neighbor who wants your well. I laughed, stuffed the letter in my pocket, and figured I'd go say hi. Turns out, harm has a way of wearing perfume. That Saturday, I parked my old Ford between a couple Teslas and immediately wished I'd left it muddy. The HOA's Lakeside Pavilion stood like a wedding cake, strings of lights, everyone dressed like they were headed to a wine tasting. I must have looked like the help. Bethany Whitfield, blonde, tall, with a smile so perfect it hurt, found me right away. Mr. Remy, she said, all sugar. So sorry about your father. He was quite the character. That's one word for him, I replied. She introduced me to Preston Hale, their developer, gray suit, expensive watch, hands that never worked a day in the dirt. Always nice to meet the neighbors, he said, looking at my boots. Then Bethany got right to it. We'd like to purchase your property. Expand the recreation area. Maybe build a nature park or a golf course. The offer's generous, I assure you. She named a number. I nearly spit my punch. Ma'am, that wouldn't cover half my fence repairs. Bethany's smile twitched. Sentiment's admirable, but practicality's better. You're a tech man, aren't you? Surely you see the potential value. I just shook my head. I think you're looking at the wrong side of it. Her eyes narrowed. It's always better to work with the HOA than against it. Neighbors who cooperate find life easier. I set down my cup. I'll risk the inconvenience, Bethany. As I turned to go, she touched my arm, cold as marble. Your father said the same once. Eventually, he understood. Those words stuck with me all the way home. I started digging through his old files that night. 15 letters from the HOA, all accusing him of violations, water mismanagement. And not a single one with authority. My old man fought them till the end. Guess it was my turn now. That's where Marcus comes in. My dad's old friend, still drove a red pickup, still smelled like chewing tobacco and oil. I called him up. You still got your survey gear? I asked. Depends, he said. You fixin' fence or startin' a war? Not sure yet. We walked the south pasture, checking the creek. I pointed to a stretch where the fence posts looked new. Too new. Dad didn't fix nothing down here the last few years, I said. Marcus crouched, brushed away the dirt, and found fresh digging. Somebody's been busy. We got out the old maps. 5 feet east of the creek, everything past that's mine. We set up the tripod, measured, took readings. Sure enough, we found a metal pipe, big, thick, humming with water pressure. The damn thing ran 27 feet into our land before curving under the fence toward the subdivision. Sprinklers sparkled on the other side like fountains at the Bellagio. Jake took photos, joints, gauges, GPS, the whole lot. You going to the sheriff? Marcus asked. Maybe, I said. But first, I want someone who knows the law better than a badge. So I went to see Sarah Coleman, old friend from school, now an attorney who didn't take crap from anyone. She scrolled through my pictures, face getting harder with every one. This isn't just trespass, Jake. This is theft. Document everything. Mark your boundaries. Call me if anyone steps foot past your fence. That night, I walked down to the creek, listened to the water slipping past the rocks. I dipped my hand in, cold, faster than it should have been. You just drilled into the wrong man's land, I thought. And that's how I ended up standing by the creek a few days later, twisting the red valve shut, killing the pipeline that fed their fancy lawns. The old pipe moaned, then fell silent. Across the valley, sprinklers died mid-spin, leaving half-wet grass steaming in the heat. The only sound was my boots crunching in the gravel. Then came the white SUV, Bethany, clipboard in hand, looking like she'd never met a dirt road in her life. What on earth do you think you're doing? She snapped. Managing my water. You've cut off supply to over 300 homes. Our residents have children, elderly parents. This isn't some private toy for you to tinker with. I just looked her in the eye. Funny thing, I didn't see your name on the deed. She turned red. We have rights. Community infrastructure rights. The pipeline's been in place for years. Without permission, I replied. Check the county record. She threatened to call the sheriff, the county, the state if she had to. I told her, you might want to ask where your water really comes from. A hot wind picked up and scattered her papers like frightened birds. I didn't lift a finger to help. She finally gathered them up, threw me a look sharp enough to cut, and said, You're making a serious mistake, Mr. Remy. Actions have consequences. So I've heard. She left in a cloud of dust, SUV fishtailing out the gate. I stood there a long time after, letting the silence settle. Honest silence, my dad used to call it. That night, I finished my tea on the porch, thinking about how sometimes you have to close a door that's been left open too long. But I knew it wasn't over. Over the next few days, they hit back. Anonymous complaints to the county inspector. Rumors in town. Jake's selling to a mining company. Jake's building a waste plant. My gate got rammed. Sell or dry. Spray painted across the mailbox. But the real twist, here's where it gets rich, came when my hidden security camera picked up Brad Thompson, the HOA's facilities guy, sneaking out at night to boost the pipeline, phone glued to his ear. Yes, Miss Whitfield. We're here now. Boosting the line 30% like you wanted. Caught him red-handed. Sent the footage to Sarah. We'll file tomorrow, she replied. But first, the county showed up, clipboard, sunglasses, possible environmental violation, looking for anything to nail me with. They found nothing. Next day, a certified letter landed in my mailbox, state letterhead and all. Some anonymous tip about chemical contamination in the creek. Orders to shut down the water until further notice. They even got an inspector, Thomas Green, a name I knew well, always happy to help the HOA, out to find pollution right on my property line. But this time I was ready. Hired an independent lab, had them take samples from both sides of the fence. Results? My land, clean as rainwater. Downstream, inside Cedar Mesa, industrial solvents, synthetic hydrocarbons, chemicals someone had bought last week, with receipts signed by Thomas Green himself and delivered to Bethany's house. You see where this is going? Sheriff McKay came up the drive, hat in hand, eyes serious. Jake, the mayor's on your side. We got a warrant to search Green's office and Bethany's place. They found everything. Falsified reports, a fat check from Bethany, chemicals still sitting in her garage. Headlines the next morning. HOA president arrested in water fraud and environmental crime. Bethany's mugshot everywhere, mascara running, face hollow as a ghost. And just like that, the whole illusion collapsed. The HOA board resigned. A new interim president showed up at my gate, folder in hand, apology letter, a real contract for shared access, and a promise to help fix the creek they'd nearly destroyed. Lisa Thompson, the new president, looked me straight in the eye. We're sorry. We want to make it right. I handed back the contract. You don't owe me. You owe this land. Keep it honest, and we'll all have enough. Weeks passed. Rain finally came. The pastures turned green again, and for the first time in years, the creek ran free. No guilt, no theft. Just the steady sound of water finding its own way. And if you think it all wrapped up clean and neat, well, let me leave you with this. Justice doesn't always come with sirens and headlines. Sometimes it's slow, like water wearing down stone, but it always finds its level. The real power isn't who owns the pipe or the deed. It's who's willing to stand their ground, quietly, when everyone else is shouting. So tell me, what would you have done? Stand your ground, or let them steal you dry? Drop your stories about justice, right, wrong, or just plain stubborn, down in the comments. And if you want more tales of land, grit, and a little well-earned revenge, you know where to find me. There's always another story flowing just under the surface.